We'll say an interesting case. I go over to witnesses and I say to witnesses, swear, right? Come and testify on my behalf that Reuven was going to give me $1,000, but he never did so. Right? He promised he was going to give me $1,000, but he didn't come through. And I will say, what happens? So remember, all of these cases play out the same way, which is ultimately, again, the witnesses swear that nothing like this ever happened, but in fact, ultimately, again, it did happen. So meaning they lied. So we'll say, what's the halach over here? Hare'elu peturim. Ultimately, again, these witnesses are pater. Why? Shein chayavin ela al tvias mamake because they're both saying, remember again, a witness is only chayav for Shevuos ha'edus when I will say he had testimony that would have entitled me to collect money. The fact that Reuven promised to give me $1,000 and never delivered the money does not create a binding promise upon Reuven. Okay, Reuven, you should always keep your word. So Reuven said he's going to give me $1,000, but he didn't give me $1,000. Okay, it doesn't create a binding obligation upon him. So here, the testimony of the witnesses would not have entitled me to collect anything. Because it would not have entitled me to collect anything, therefore, by definition, they are not chayiv for Shevuos ha'edos. Mashpi'ani alechem kisheteidu li'edos shetavav v'taiduni. So we'll say, what happens? I go over to witnesses. I say, witnesses A and B, swear to me, or I adjure you that when you know testimony, you will come and testify on my behalf. And I will say, what happens? They swear ultimately again. They swear that they have no testimony, or they won't have any testimony. What happens? It turns out that it's false. They do no testimony. They're pater. Why? Because the Shevuos ha'edus works is that the eidos, the knowledge, the testimony, has to precede the shvuah. In this case over here, the shvuah came before the testimony. Next, Amar Beisak Knesses v'Amar. I stand up in front of the shul, meaning in this case, Beisak Knesses is referring to a group of people. V'Amar, and he says, Mashpia ani aleichem. Shem atem yodim li'edos shetavav v'taiduni. So let's listen to this case. I stand up in front of the shul and I say to the entire shul, right? If any of you know testimony, come and testify on my behalf. So we'll say what happens. Let's say the shul as a whole takes the shul and ultimately says we don't know any edos on your behalf. So we'll say what's the halacha? Hare'elu p'turim. Ultimately, they're pater. Why? Achi miskavinam. Because Rabbi say Shevuos ha'edos is only effective if it's targeted. Bless you. If it's targeted, it has to be targeted ultimately again to two witnesses, not to a general group. Amar l'shnayim mashpi'ani aleichem ish ploni uploni. So if I go over to two people and I say, I hereby adjure you, ish ploni uploni shematim yodim li'edos shetavav v'taiduni, that if you know any testimony on my behalf, that you will come and testify on my behalf. To which the Gemara says, Shvuah she'in anu yodin l'cha eidos. V'hein yodim eidos. Eid mi pi eid. O shaya echem em karav apostle. Let's say it turns out that one of them does know testimony, but he doesn't know the testimony firsthand. He knows it, eid mi pi eid. The Shvuah says eid mi pi eid means he knows it from another party, or one of the two people happens to be a karav or a apostle. What is the halacha? Hare'elu peturin. Ultimately, again, they are pater. Why? I say because since one of them effectively is not a proper aid, either because the testimony he has is not firsthand, or because he is a karov or a apostle, ultimately, again, they are not subject to Shevuos ha'edos. Shalach biad avdo. Oh, Shalach biad avdo. Oh, sha'amar lemanitva mashbi'a ani alechem shem atem yodim lo edos shetavo v'taidu. Let's listen to this case. Let's say I send my servant to adjure the witnesses, or the person who I'm claiming owes me money makes the witnesses swear, and he says, "Swear if you know any." I hereby administer a shvuah. If you know any eidos on behalf of Silber, I will say they take the shvuah, and it turns out that they're lying. P'turim, ultimately they're pater. Why? And she shouldn't be out there because we'll say Shevuos ha'edos is only when the claimant administers the oath. But if the oath is administered by any other interested party, let me say again, that is not called Shevuos ha'edos. But it says the Gemara, Tan Rabbanan. So we'll say now the Gemara is just going to quote a brisa, which essentially goes through each and every case of the Mishnah, but explaining it a little bit more in greater depth. Tan Rabbanan. Mashbi'ani alechem imlo tavo'u v'ta'iduni sha'amar ishponi litini masayim zuz v'lo nasan. So we'll say this is the first case in the Mishnah. I go over to witnesses and I say to witnesses, I hereby administer an oath upon you. If you do not come to Beis Din and testify on my behalf, that Reuven promised that he was going to give me $1,000 and he didn't do so. So we'll say, so let's say they go ahead and they swear we don't know any testimony about this, but in fact they do know testimony. They heard Ruvain say this. They're still potter. What's the halacha? Tamalomar techata legzir shava. Ne'emar kan techta. Both say it says there Shevuos seidus techta. Ne'emar la'alon it says Shevuos sapikadon. Both say this is what we spent our time yesterday on. It says Shevuos sapikadon techta. Ma lahalon betfias mammon v'yishlo af kan betfias mammon sheyishlo. So both say we learn from the gzir shava of techta that what? That the only time you're chai for Shevuos seidus, so both say, is when there is an actual claim, a present monetary claim. I claim that Reuven owes me money, and he has the money, he owes it to me, and Lamaisa, the witness has no testimony about that. But I will say, in this kind of case, where I am claiming that Reuven made a premise to give me something, but there's no actual solid claim right now, that's not subject to Shevuos Seidus. Next, Mashpia ani alechem kishetedu leidus. Both say, if I say to the witnesses, I hereby adjure you that you will come and testify on my behalf when you know testimony. Now, right now, they know no testimony. But when you do know testimony, you'll come and testify on my behalf. So both say, the Mishnah said they're pater for that. I hereby adjure you that when you know testimony, you will come and testify on my behalf. I might have thought that witnesses would be chayav for such a shvuah. Tamalomar v'shama kol Allah v'hu eid. They will hear, both say, right, a voice, right? V'shama kol Allah v'hu eid. O ra'ah o yada. What do you see from here? Misha kidma eidos l'shvuah. Both say, we see shvuah eidos only applies in a case where the eidos comes before the shvuah. V'lo shekidma shvuah eidos. But both say, not if the oath comes before the testimony. In this case over here, the oath is being administered even before what? Even before the witnesses know any kind of testimony. Therefore, not subject to Shevuos Seidus. Amad bebeis hakneses v'aram ashbiani ani alechem. I stand in front of the shul and I say, I hereby adjure anyone who knows testimony on my behalf. Amar Shmuel, afilu eid beineihem, eid beineihem. So Shmuel says, even if the actual witnesses are standing in the shul at that time, this is still not Shevuos Seidus. So the Gemara says, Pshita, that's obvious. Lo tzricha dekai ilu yahu. We'll say, what's the case? The case is where I'm standing right next to the witnesses. What would I have thought? Kiman to Amr Luhudami. Ahmed Aflaj will say that if they're standing right there, it's as if what? It's as if I'm speaking directly to them. Kamash Mulano. Kamash Mulano say that unless I specifically identify the witnesses to whom I am speaking, this is not a Shevuos Seidus. Tainam Achar writes that supports this. Ra'ah. Taina me'achar that supports says Ra sir shabani adam omdin. We'll say if I see a group of people standing together, ve'edav beineihem, and the witnesses are amongst that group. Va'amar lahem, and I say to them, Mashpi ani aleichem im atem yodim le'edus shetavo v'taiduni. And I say to the group, I hereby adjure you, if any of you know testimony on my behalf, that you will come and testify on my behalf. Yachol yu chayav. I might have thought that the members of the group who are edim would be chayiv. Talmud Lomar v'hu eid v'hari lo yiched eidav. We'll say ultimately we see from here that what Shevuos Seidus only applies if what I will say if I specify or identify the specific group of witnesses whom I am talking to. But if I'm talking to a large group and the witnesses happen to be part of that larger group, Shevuos Seidus does not apply. Yachal afilu amar kala omdin kan. We'll say, what if I specify the group in its entirety? Talmud Lamar v'hu eid v'hari yichad eidav. So we'll say the idea over here is Shevuos Seidus could only apply to a case where I identify a specific group. Now, I can identify a large group if I so choose, that's fine, but I can't speak in generalities to a group and adjure them al Shevuos Seidus. In other words, in order for Shevuos Seidus to work, there has to be a specific population or a specific individuals who are identified. Amar l'shnayim mashpia ani aleichem. If I say to two people, I hereby adjure you, Tan Rabbanan, Amar l'shnayim mashpia ani aleichem, ploni matem yodim edus shetavo v'taiduni, v'heim yodim lo edus edni pi'eid, o shahaya echem em kar l'pasul, yachol yuchayav. And so let's listen to this. I go over to two people, and I say, I hereby impose a shvuah upon you, if you know any edus on my behalf. And I both say, one of them knows, or for that matter, both of them know. But let's say one of them knows, but the other one only knows secondhand, or one of them happens to be a karov or a puzzle. How do I know that? Abba say even when I take the shvuah, they are not chayiv, since they are not fit to be a testimonial unit. Talmud lomar imlo yagid v'nasa avono. If the Torah says, if the witness knows testimony and does not say anything, he will bear his iniquity. Beru'uyin lahagada kosu medaber. But the only time that witnesses are chayiv for a false Shevuos Eidus is when they had proper testimony and failed to share that testimony. Shalach bi'adav, though, if I summon the witnesses through my evet, through my servant, also they're not chayiv. Tan Rabbanon, shilach bi'adav, though, if I summon the witnesses to testify through my servant, O shamar lemanitva, mashbi'ani alechem shim'atem yodim lo edu shetavo v'taidu. Or I will say, for that matter, I'm claiming Ruvain owes me money. And Ruvain tells the witnesses, if you know testimony on behalf of Silber, I impose a Shevuah upon you. Yachol yu chayavin. I'm going to vote that the witnesses should be chayiv. Talmud lomar im lo yagid v'nasa avono. My Talmud, I will say, so what's the drasha there? Am Rabbi Lazar im lo yagid ksiv im lo yagid v'nasa avono v'im la'achar lo yagid pater. So we'll say, listen to this. The way the Vidarshan is im lo yagid. We'll say it is only if the witnesses fail to go ahead and share their testimony with the one whom their testimony benefits. That's when there is a false Shevuos Eidus. But failure to share testimony with some other interested party is not a violation of the Shevuos Eidus. So again, it is only if they fail to share their testimony with the one who is benefited or the one who benefits from their testimony. But failure to share that testimony with anyone else does not result in a violation of the Shevuos Eidus. Good. There was a Mishnah. Mashbi'ani ani aleichem. So we'll say now, this Mishnah deals with different lashonos of Shevuos, different verbiage for Shevuos. So for example, Mashbi'ani ani aleichem. We'll say, let's say I go ahead and I say to witnesses, I hereby administer a Shevuah upon you. Or, Mitzaveh ani aleichem, I hereby command upon you. Or Sarchem ani, I hereby go ahead and put an Isser upon you. Hare'ilu chayavin. Rabbi says, we'll see in the Gemara, these are all the shonos of Shevuah. These are all different verbiages that mean Shevuah. Hare'ilu chayavin. Bashamayim uva'aretz. If I go ahead and I administer an oath to them, again, now what this means, we'll see. Bashamayim is by the heaven and earth. Hare'ilu p'turin. Rabbi say they are patur. Again, we'll see in the Gemara what this means. The Aleph Dalid, B'Yud Hey. So we'll say now we're going to talk about different names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that are ultimately used to administer the oath. Aleph Dalid, which seems to be again the first two letters of the name Adoshem, right? Aleph Dalid, or Yud Hey, the first two letters of Yud Hey and then Vav Hey. Bishakai, Bitzvaos, Bechanun V'Rachum, Be'erech Apayim, B'Rav Chesed, B'Chala Kinuyin. So we'll say, in other words, if you use any of the descriptive names for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hare'ilu Chayavin. So we'll say somebody takes a Shevuah with any of these descriptive names, ultimately, and it's a false Shevuah, they're Chayiv for a false Shevuah. Hamakala B'Kulan Chayiv. Similar, we'll say, if you go ahead and you curse with any of these names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or any of these descriptive names, now this is talking about somebody who blasphemes God. Somebody who curses HaKadosh Baruch Hu with any of these descriptive names of God is also going to be Chayiv. But the Rabbi Meir, Chum Pochin, the Chum say, no, you're Pater. So again, we'll see this in the Gemara. Similar to Rabbi Meir says, if you curse your parents with any of these descriptive names, you will also be Chayiv. But we'll say first wide line, Lamed Hem and Aleph, Chacham Pochin, the Chum will say you're Pater. If somebody curses himself, or somebody who curses his friend with any of these names, over below Sase, he goes there and he violates a prohibition. Yakicha Hashem Elokim v'chein Yakicha Elokim Zoe Allah Haksuva B'Torah. We'll say similarly if he goes there and he says Yakicha Hashem Elokim, Kadosh Baruch Hu should strike you. V'chein Yakicha Elokim, God should strike you. This is the curse written in the Torah. Now we'll say, now what does this mean? If you look at Rashi, so Rashi says Zohi Allah im Amar le'edim echad min ha'mikros shebeklalos Yakicha Hashem b'shachabes. So we'll say, this is by the Tochacha. These things by the Tochacha. So we'll say, if I say to witnesses, if you know testimony and you don't testify on my behalf, Yakicha Hashem, God should strike you. Essentially, I adjure him with, or them, with the psukim of the Tochacha, the psukim of the curses. So I will say, this is an effective Shevuos Eidus. This is an effective Shevuos Eidus. Similarly, again, I will say, Al yakecha v'yivarechecha v'yetiv lecha. We'll say, if I phrase the shvuah in the positive, if you testify on my behalf, God should not strike you, but should bless you. Rabbi Meir says this is an effective shvuah, and the Chachamim say it is not an effective shvuah, is pater. So we'll say now we're going to go through these types of shvuahs. Mashpi'ani aleichem, my kama. I'm Rabbi Yudachi kama. This is what it means to say. Mashpi'ani aleichem b'shvuah ha'amura b'Torah. So this is what it means is, I adjure you with the shvuah written in the Torah. Or mitzava ani aleichem b'tzava ha'amura b'Torah. Or I command you regarding the command that is written in the Torah. Or osarchem ani b'isra amar b'Torah. I answer you with the isra that is written in the Torah. So we'll say all of these different types of verbiage all work for a shvuah sa'idus. Amar le'abaye, elahadetani rabichia, kovalchem ani hare'elu chayavim. So we'll say, what about the lashon of kovalchem? Now, kovalchem literally means, I bind you. So what does it mean, I bind you? So the Gemara says, koval baraisa miksiv, elam rabbi hachi kamar, mashpia ani aleichem b'shvuah, mitzava ani aleichem b'shvuah. What it means is, I go ahead and I adjure you, right? I command you regarding a shvuah. Osarchem ani b'shvuah. I answer you with a shvuah. Kovalchem ani b'shvuah. I bind you with a shvuah. So we'll say any of these types of wordings work ultimately again for a shvuah sa'idus. Ba'alif dalid biyud hey bishakai b'tzvakos b'chanu v'racham berachapayim lememra techanu v'racham shemos. So is this to say that Chanun v'racham are names of God? Or mini, we'll ask a question, because we'll say, it sounds like over here, that if, according to the Mishnah, that if I go ahead and I adjure the witnesses with Chanun and Rachum, I say, by Chanun and Rachum, if you don't testify on my behalf, we'll say, that sounds like that is a proper Shvuah Sa'idus. Is that true? Or minu, Yesh Shemos She'enim Chakim, V'yesh Shemos She'enim Chakim. Well, this is actually very interesting. There are some names of God which can be erased, some which cannot be erased. Eluhein Shemos She'enim Chakim. We will say these are the names which cannot be erased. What are they? Kigon Kel, Elokecha, Elokim, Elokechem, Eheye Asher Eheye, Aleph Dalid, Yud Hey, Shakai, Tzvakos. Hare Elu Einim Chakim. We will say these are all the names which cannot be erased. Avo, Hagodol, Hagibar, Hanora, Ha'adir, Ha'chazak, Ha'ametz, Ha'izos, Chanun, Rachum, Erech HaPayir, Chesed, Hare Elu Nimchakim. So we'll say, what are all of these names? These are not names of God. Rather, what are these? What are these? Descriptions. Right? These are descriptions. So they are. So the descriptions ultimately, again, adjectives. Right? The descriptions ultimately can be erased. They can be erased because they are not names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Descriptions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi. So we'll say. So what do you see from here? From the Mishnah, sounds like Chanun V'Rachum is the real name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That ultimately, again, if you swear by Chanun V'Rachum, sounds like it's a proper Shvuah Sa'idus. Yet here we're saying Chanun V'Rachum are names which can be erased. So which one is it? Rabbi Masnisin b'mishahu Chanun Amad Bezer. We'll say b'mishu Rachum Kamar. What it means to say is as follows. The way it's worded in the Mishnah is, I swear b'mishahu Rachum b'mishu Chanun. I swear by the one who is Rachum, who is Chanun. So we'll say in this case over here, I'm swearing by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I just happen to be attaching a description. But it's that word b'mi. I'm swearing by the one. So by the one ultimately is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Rabbi says, if that's the case, Ihaki, Vashamayim uva'aretz nami. B'mi shamayim va'aretz shelo kamar. We'll say if that's the case, and even when you swear by shamayim uva'aretz, I should interpret that to mean what? I swear by the one whom the heaven and earth belongs to. We'll say if that's the case, then Lamaisa again, that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So yet the Mishnah said, if you swear b'shamayim uva'aretz, it will say you are pater. So the which the Gemara says, I'll tell you the difference. Hachi ashta some kevun deleka midi achrina deikri chanav v'rachum vaday mishu chanav v'rachum. So vaday b'mishu hu chanun vaday b'mishu rachum kamar. Both say when it comes to rachum and chanun, which you know are objective, definite, or descriptions of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So when you swear b'mishu rachum and chanun, it is clear that you are swearing by God. Hacha kevan deika shamayim va'aretz b'shamayim va'aretz kamar. We'll say heaven and earth do not automatically describe God. What the Gemara is saying is as follows. When you use the words Chanun V'Rachum and you attach a me to it, so it is clear that you are speaking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because there is no other entity in this universe which is referred to as Chanun V'Rachum. However, when you refer to Shamayim Va'aretz, when you refer to Shamayim Va'aretz, then what? Those are independent entities. Therefore, by definition, it is not automatically assumed that it is a reference to God. Rather, again, it could be assumed that it's a reference to Shamayim Va'aretz. To swear by the heavens and earth, Rabbi is not an effective shvuah. Good. Tana Rabbanan. So now we're going to spend a little bit of time speaking about these shemos. So these are actually very interesting cases. Tana Rabbanan. Kas of Aleph Lamed Melokim. If a person writes the Aleph and the Lamed from Elokim, or Yud Hey, Me Hashem from Yud Kei Vav Kei, Harei Ze Ino Nimchak. So we'll say, once you go out and you write the Aleph Lamed of Elokim, or the Yud and Hey from Yud Kei Vav Kei, you can't erase those. Shavuos makes sense. Why? Because even though those are just partial names, those are already names in and of themselves. Aleph Lamed is Kel, Yud Hey is still a name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So once you write it, even though again it's only a partial name, you already can't write it. Shin Dalid Mishakai, but if you write Shin Dalid from Shakai, or Aleph Dalid Me'ado Noi, or Tzadik Beis Mitzvakos, Harei Ze Nimchak. I would say if you wrote these partial names, then because these partial names are not really independent names of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they can be erased. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Tzvakos Kulo Nimchak. Rabbi Yossi says even the full word Tzvakos can be erased. Why? Shelo Nikra Tzvakos Ela Al Shem Yisrael. Because he says Tzvakos does not, or say Tzvaos is not a name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rather what? It's a reference to Klal Yisrael. Shneimar, V'otzeis yes Sivosai es Ami b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. We'll say, by the way, Hashgacha Pradis. We begin Parashat Shmos, right? We begin Shibud Mitzrayim. So again, you see that the way the word Sivosai is used as a reference ultimately to Klal Yisrael, not to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar Shmuel, we'll say first wide line. Amar Shmuel, Ein Halacha Rabbi Yossi. Shmuel says, I will say that what? The halacha does not follow Rabbi Yossi. Which I will say means what? That you cannot erase Tzvakos. Tzvakos is in fact a name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tan Rabbanan. This is actually another very interesting Gemara. I will say anything, any prefix or suffix that is before or after the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu can be erased. What does this mean? For example, Lefanav Ketzad. What's the examples of the prefixes to the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Bahashem, Beis Nimchak. So if it's Bahashem, the Beis can be erased. Vahashem, Vav Nimchak. Me Hashem, Mem Nimchak. Shah Hashem, Shin Nimchak. Hashem, Hey Nimchak. Ki Hashem, Kaf Nimchak. So we'll say any prefix ultimately again can be erased. La'achar of Ketzad. We'll say what's the example of a suffix? Elokeinu, Nu Nimchak. So we'll say by Elokeinu. So ultimately again the Nun Vav can be erased. Elokehem, Hey Mem Nimchak. Elokechem, Chaf Mem Nimchak. So we'll say Achirim Omrim. The Achirim say La'achar of Eno Nimchak. So we'll say the Achirim say no. The prefix you can go ahead and you can erase. The suffix you cannot. Why? Shekvar Kichu Hashem. Because we'll say interestingly enough, whatever appears after the Shem Hashem has already been sanctified, has already been consecrated. Amar Afuna halacha ke'achirim. Ultimately, again, the halacha follows the achirim. We'll say, namely, again, you could go ahead and you could erase the prefix, but you can't erase the suffix of the Shem Hashem. We'll say once it follows the Shem Hashem, by definition, it has been consecrated. Beautiful. Kol Shemos Hamurim B'Torah. Babram. So we'll say now we're going to get into. I promised you a little bit of Agarata. A little bit of Agarata. So I'm going to deliver. Kol Shemos Hamurim B'Torah Babram. Kodesh. We'll say wherever you see the word Adonai by Avram Avinu, it always refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chutz mizeh shucha, with one exception, where the word Adonai does not refer to God, but rather again refers to man. Where is that pasuk? Shneimar Vayomer Hashem Vayomer Adonai Imnama Tzasichin Be'inecha. So we'll say, remember again, this is in Parshas Vayera. So Avram Avinu was waiting outside the tent for Hachnasas Orchim, and the three men show up. So we'll say, so the pasuk is Vayomer Adonai Imnama Tzasichin Be'inecha Al Na Tavar Me'al Avdecha. So Avram Avinu says to one of the three men, right, please don't leave, please come into my tent. So the Gemara says, wherever you see the word Adoshem by Avram Avinu refers to God, except here, Adonai doesn't refer to God, rather Adonai refers to what? My master. Refers to a human being. Chanina ben Achi Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah Mishum, Rabbi Elazar Modi Amru, Af Zeh Kodesh. There's a disagreement. Others say no. This Adoshem is also referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we'll say, so actually, if you think about it, by the way, it is a fundamental machlokes how to read the pasuk. Avram Avinu says, "Vayomer Ado Noi Im Nomas Hasichim Beinechad Natvar." If I found favor in your eyes, please don't leave me. So the first opinion says that Adonai is not referring to God; it's referring again to the people that Avram Avinu was talking to. Please, if I found favor in your eyes, please come into my tent. Other opinion says no; it's referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi say, watch this. So Kiman Ozla Hadar Mevihuda Marav. So we'll say, in accordance with whose opinion is the following statement: Gedola Hachnasas Archim Yosem Mekabalas Pnei Ashchina. I will say, listen to this. If you interpret ultimately again the Ado Noi in this pasuk is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we come out with an incredible principle, which is what Rabbi is saying, that Achnasas Archim is even greater. Hospitality is even greater than being Makabal the Shechina. We'll say, where do we learn that from? If you hold that the Ado Noi in this pasuk is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then what Avram Avinu is saying is as follows: Vayomer, Avram Avinu says to God, Im na matzasichin be'inecha al na ta'avar me'al yadech avdecha. Which also means, what was Avram Avinu saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What was he saying? Ribono shel olam, wait here for a moment, I gotta go. Right? There's an opportunity to be machnis archim, so I'm going to ask you to wait here for a little bit. Let me go take care of hachnasas archim. Let me welcome in these guests, and I will come back to you as soon as I am done. We'll say, see, if you understand that the Adonai in this pasuk is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then by definition we emerge with a profound principle, which is that hachnasas archim is even greater than kabbalas b'nei Ashchina, even greater than receiving the Ribbon Shalom himself. Incredible. Kol shemos hamurim belot chol chutz mizeh. So Shukodesh. We'll say in general, whenever we see the word Ado and then Noi by Lot, generally again it always refers to people, with one exception where it refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar vayomer Lot aleihem al no Ado Noi. Hine na masa avdechachin be'inecha. So we'll say ultimately again, with the exception of this pasuk, where Lot ultimately is referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Mishiyesh biyado lahamis ulahachios zeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So remember again, what Lot is saying over here is this is when the Lot is being saved from stone, and he asks to go ahead and flee to a relatively unknown city. So the Adoshem that's mentioned over here in the pasuk ultimately again has a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Fine. Kol shemas ha'amurim b'navos kodesh b'micha cho. We'll say any time that the word Adonai is mentioned by Navos, it is Kodesh, but by Micha, it is Chol. We'll say, remember again, who is Navos and Micha? Navos is in the story of Achov. We'll say Achov, remember again, it was incredible Avodah Zarah, Melech Yisrael. So remember, the story is that Achov wanted the vineyard of Navos. Navos wouldn't sell. So Achov's wife, Izebel, concocts an entire story that says that Navos cursed Kodesh Baruch Hu, cursed the king. As a result, he's marred b'malchus, he's executed. When you are executed for rebelling against the crown, your property is seized by the king. This was her plan to allow her husband ultimately again to go ahead and get the vineyard. So that's Avos. Micha Rabosai was an individual, was an Obed Avodah Zarah within Klal Yisrael. So what happens? Anytime it says Adonai by Micha, Rabosai, that's a reference to Avodah Zarah. Whenever it says that by Navos, it's a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Benavos Kodesh. So Rabbi Eliezer says no, by Navos, anytime it's mentioned, ultimately it's Kodesh, correct? B'micha, Yesh Men Chav Yesh Men Kodesh. There are sometimes that Adonai is Hashem, and sometimes that it's Chol. To which the Gemara says, Yesh Men Kodesh. Aleph Lamed Chol, Yud Hey Kodesh. Whenever it uses Aleph Lamed, which Shabbos says Elokim, ultimately again, or I should say Elohim, that's a reference to Avodah Zarah. But anytime it says Yud Hey and then Vav Hey, that's a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Gemara says Chutz Mizeh Shalef Lametu v'Kodesh. With one exception, also. What's the one exception? V'Chol Yemei Hayos Beis Elokim B'Shilo. Fine, because we'll say since that's a reference to the house of God in Shiloh, therefore again that's a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kol Shemos Hamurim Begivas Binyamin. We'll say any time that the name of God is used in reference to the story of Givas Binyamin. We'll say, what's the story of Givas Binyamin? This is the episode of Pilegesh Begiva. So we'll say this is a very dramatic story where there was a man who was traveling with his family through the tribal area of Binyamin. He gets into a fight with his Pilegesh, with his concubine. He kicks her out of the house. To make a very long story short, she is abused by the men of Binyamin that entire night, and she dies the following morning. The husband, who is outraged, cuts her body up into 12 pieces, sends it out to all the Shvatim, and invites them all to visit punishment upon Shevet Binyamin. Everybody is outraged by the immoral act of Binyamin. They all band together to go to war against Binyamin, and Shevet Binyamin is almost virtually wiped out. So as I says the Gemara, any time that their shame was written in the episode of Givas Binyamin, Rabbi Lazar Omer Chol, Rabbi Shomer Kodesh. Amar Rabbi Lazar, V'chi Maftiach Ve'ino Osa. Could it be? Because Rabbi Lazar says it has to be Chol. Because could it be ultimately again that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promises and doesn't deliver? Now what is this a reference to? So this is a reference to the fact that at first, when the joint armies of the Shvatim went out to war against Binyamin, so they lost. So could it be that they're consulting HaKadosh Baruch Hu when God doesn't deliver? Amar Rabbi Yeshua, Ma shevtiach asa, v'heim lo bechanu im linsoach im lo lenatseach. So it's very interesting. The Shvatim actually consulted God, should we go out to war? What they didn't ask is, will we be successful or not be successful? So the first couple of battles, they were unsuccessful. Ultimately, again, by the third time around, they not only consult, should we go to war, but will we be successful? And ultimately, again, Bachrona Shebichnu Hiskima Ayadan Shneemar Upinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen Omei Lafana Bayamim Ahem Leimar Ha'osif Od Latzeis L'Mochama Im Bnei Binyamin Achi Im Echdal. So we'll say it's only the third time, ultimately, again, where they consult the order of the Tumim, and they ask specifically, not only should we go out, but what? Will we be successful? And we'll say in that last time, ultimately, again, they are successful against Binyamin. Kol Shlomo Ha'amurim B'Shir Hashirim Kodesh. So we'll say, ultimately, this is amazing. Anytime it says Shlomo in Shir Hashirim, I will say, it is not a reference to Shlomo HaMelech. Rather, who is it a reference to? To HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Lemi Shalom Shalom. It's a reference to He whom all Shalom belongs to. And I will say that is a reference to the Ribbano Shel Olam. Chutz Mizeh, with one exception, one pasuk I will say where Shlomo refers to Shlomo. Karmi Shali Lefanai Ha'elef Lecha Shlomo. So we'll say except the pasuk that says, my vineyard is before me. Ha'elef Lecha Shlomo, which also means 1,000 belong to you, Shlomo. Shlomo Lididei Umasayim Lenochim Esperio. So we'll say this refers to Shlomo himself. Umasayim Lenochim Esperio, and 200 to the ones who go ahead and guard the fruit. We'll say that refers to the Rabbanon. So we'll say, so what is this referring to? Take a look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says, Umasayim Lenochim Esperio, the Rabbanon Hinichem V'Yaskem B'Torah Echa Mishisho. So let's listen to this, as we'll see in just a moment. Helef Lecha Shlomo means for every thousand that Shlomo HaMelech conscripted into the army, he left 200 learning in the yeshivos. The Shlomo HaMelech always ensured that there was never more than a sixth of the population which was conscripted for the service of the army, that there was always some significant population, segment of the population who was able to devote themselves to the learning of Torah. Others say that this name of Shlomo is also a reference to Shlomo HaMelech himself, not a reference to God. Hinei mitaso shel Shlomo shishim. We'll say again, this is a reference, ultimately again, the pasuk says, the bed of Shlomo was surrounded by the 60 of his strongest soldiers. So we'll say, Rashi points out over here, why does Shlomo HaMelech surround his bed by his soldiers? Rashi says over here, Chol shaya nivas me'ashmedai. Remember again, we saw this in our Maseches Gittin days, that Shlomo HaMelech has an incredible exchange with Ashmedai, the king of Shedim, and this left an incredible mark on him for the rest of his life, to the point that he was, remember again, this is when Ashmedai deposed him, and Ashmedai assumed Shlomo HaMelech's form and paraded himself as the king and did an incredible amount of damage during that time. Shlomo HaMelech spends the rest of his life living in fear of being deposed once again by Ashmedai. Af zeh v'lo miboyhech, elo hadam Shmuel, malchusa dekatla, chad mishisu ba'amal lo ma'ansha. Yet Shmuel said, I'll say that what? A government Rabbi means literally who kills more than 1/6 of its population is not held accountable. Rabbi it doesn't mean it killed over here. What it means is Rashi says over here, a government or a kingdom, a monarchy that conscripts 1/6 of its population is not held, meaning it's okay. To conscript up to 1/6 of your population is okay. Where do we know this from? Shene'emar, Karmi Shali Lefanai. My vineyard is before me. Ha'elef lecha Shlomo. 1,000 are to you, Shlomo. L'malchusa d'rakia. U'masayim l'nochum esperio. L'malchusa da'ara. Suppose I see the point that Gemara is making over here from this pasuk is you see from here again this contrast between 1,000 and 200. That ultimately again as you can conscript some significant amount of the population for the service of the king, as long as some smaller amount is left over, ultimately again to devote themselves to matters of spirituality. Shmuel lo kitanakama v'lo ki yishomrim. The problem is that Shmuel will say the opinion of Shmuel is not like the Tanakama, nor is it like the Yishomrim. And this is what it means to say the Yishomrim zeh kodesh basir. Others say that even this name is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'zeu chol, and which is the one which refers to Shlomo himself, dimitaso, u'shmuel the Amar ki Yishomrim, and Shmuel ultimately holds like the Yishomrim. Fine. Kol malkia ha'amurim b'daniel chol, chutz mizeh shu kodesh. We'll say whenever it speaks about the king in Sefer Daniel, that is always chol. That is always referring to a human king. Rabbi say similarly, which human king? Nebuchadnezzar. With one exception, chutz mizeh shu kodesh. With one exception, where ultimately again, Melech refers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Which one? Which pasuk? Ant Malka Malchaya, Di Allah Shmaya, Malchusa Chasna V'Takva V'Yikra Yahevlach. Both say with one exception, when Daniel says, "You are the king over kings, heaven and earth belong to you. Right, glory is yours." That, said the Gemara, is a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not to Nebuchadnezzar. But every other time that Daniel makes a mention of a king, the king being referenced is Nebuchadnezzar. The Yishomrim, others say, Af Zeh Kodesh. Even this name, right? Even the following name is Kodesh as well. Which name? Shene'emar. Because over here the Gemara says, Mari Chalma Lisanach Upshara La'arach. Ultimately, again, I see here, the pasuk says, well, the pasuk, it's a much longer pasuk. Va'ari Mari Chalma Lisanach. Literally, again, you are the master of dreams for your enemies. Upsharei la'arach. Leman kamar. If you want to say this reference to Nebuchadnezzar, so the Gemara says, Ka'amar le Sinai Usei. So who are the enemies ultimately of Nebuchadnezzar? Ma'ini hu Yisrael. Well, say it's the Jews who are the enemies of Nebuchadnezzar. Meilat kalayet lehu li Yisrael. Is Daniel cursing Klal Yisrael? Of course not. Therefore, again, that king must be a reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Daniel is ultimately saying that the enemies of HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be cursed. The Tanakama, some of the Tanakama will say, Sone Yisrael Ika, Sone Ovdei Kochavim Leka. Do you think Nebuchadnezzar's only enemies were Klal Yisrael? Were there no other enemies? Were there no other enemies ultimately for Nebuchadnezzar? Were there no Gentile enemies for Nebuchadnezzar? Of course there were. Therefore, again, those are the enemies that Nebuchadnezzar ultimately is representing. So we'll say, so again, just so you understand, that at the end of the day, the way we got to this was, remember, the Mishnah started off by talking about names of HaKadosh, or names that could be used as for Shevuos. And we've seen that certain names, which are really more descriptive names, can't be used for Shevuos, only real Shevuos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Once we started on that discussion of what is considered to be a name of God, that kind of launched into this entire discussion, where we see names that sometimes refer to God, but yet we see based on the context, sometimes they refer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, other time they go ahead and they refer to other things, or other people, I should say. Also, the other piece over here, that's quite fascinating, is this incredible, what we'll call conscription kolal ratio. This idea from David HaMelech, from Shalom HaMelech, you see Rabbi, that again, there is a certain amount of the population that the king is permitted to conscript into his service, but yet a certain amount that must be dedicated ultimately again to spiritual pursuits as well. Quite fascinating. So let's go back to her. Ubechol kinuyin hare'elu chayavin, or minu, yitin Hashem osach la'Allah u'shvua. Shabbos, I remember again, this is by the Sota. By the Sota. Kadosh Baruch Hu should give you la'Allah u'shvua, ma tamul omar. The pasuk already said the coin will administer a shvuah sa'ala. Lefish ne'emar v'shama kol Allah. Ne'emar kan Allah v'ne'emar lahalon Allah. Both say it says over there Allah. Use the word Allah, and it says over here Allah. So the Gemara says ma Allah ma lahalon. Ma lahalon shvuah afkan shvuah. Ma lahalon b'shem afkan b'shem. So we'll say, just like over there, Allah meant a shvuah, and just like over there, Allah meant b'shem, so to Rabbi say means the same. Rabbi lo kashya, ha Rabbi Chanina bar Idi ha Rabbanon, the Sanya, Rabbi Chanina bar Idi Omer, hoil va'amra Torah, he shava va'al tishava, kila va'al tikala. So we'll say, just like the Torah says, ultimately, that there are times that you must swear, times that you shouldn't swear, times that you should curse, times that you shouldn't curse. Right? Ultimately, again, mahesh shava b'shem. I will say, just like ultimately, again, when you swear, swearing has to be done with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Af lo tishava b'shem. So to will say in those cases where you're not supposed to swear, that's also a reference to swearing with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ma kilal b'shem. Just as cursing ultimately is done with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Af lo tekalal b'shem. So to will say, not cursing ultimately is a reference to not cursing with the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'Rabbanan, what will the Rabbanan say? If we truly learn at the Gzeir Shava, then I will say what? It should require the Shema Miyuchad. But if you don't learn the Gzeir Shava, Allah the Shvuah Himinalahu. Then I will say, where do you learn out that the Allah is ultimately again a Shvuah? Nafkalu midisanya. We learn out from as follows: midisanya Allah ain Allah ela lashon Shvuah. So we'll say La Allah itself means a Shvuah. Dechinu Omer v'Yishbiya Kohen Asa Isha b'Shvuah Sa'Allah. Hasam Shavuos Allah Ksiv. So we'll say, but here's the problem. It doesn't just say Allah over there. What does it say? It says Shavuos Allah. This is what it means to say Allah ainly Allah Ella b'Shvuah. V'chinu Omer v'Yishbiya Kohen Esa Isha b'Shvuah Sa'Allah. We'll say top of Lamed Vav. Uminayin Lasos Shavuah She'ini Ma'Allah Kishvuah She'yeshi Ma'Allah. We'll say, how do I know that again? Quote unquote a shvuah without a mention of an Allah next to it is the same as a shvuah that has mention of an Allah. Ella Talmud Lomar v'shama kol Allah v'shama kol. Therefore, we'll say the Torah uses three distinct forms of wording: v'shama kol Allah, v'shama kol. We'll say ultimately to teach you what? That all of these expressions are mamish, essentially the same. That Allah means shvuah, shvuah means Allah, and I will say ultimately we'll see in Meretz Hashem how to build on that in tomorrow's daf. Shkoyach. We'll say a mazel tov to Morty Garden on his engagement to Alana Lansky. Mazel tov, mazel tov.